Hello, and welcome back to our weekly astrological updates, our astrology weather. And I'm starting this back last week because we really started into some slippery slopes and some really interesting changes starting last Wednesday. And I think we were talking about that with this focused configuration here at the nodes. We can see this opposition. I just want to bring you back to what's going on. This opposition with the nodes last week, right? Of course, they're always opposing, but this, um, how do I want to put it? It's this apex here, this point, is got a square and a half on either side to, um, as the moon clicks in. First of all, it's to Pluto, and then again you get Pluto that kind of tense half square to the north node, and then when the moon clicked into place, it made that other side that intense half square, and then square and a half back over to the node. So this is a very kind of a fated configuration, focused energy. Whenever I see, a lot of these planets out here making like connections and then all focusing on something, and here it's a nodal focus, but we're right at the sun. I mean, it's the sun crossing the south node at this. So the sun is being directed and hit as it's crossing the south node. Let me just go back in like an hour a little bit, and then you can see, I want to get the sun on the other side of the node. Hold on. There we go. Okay. So we can see how that's starting to close in. And then when the moon clicked into place, we go forward. So you can just look at some of these patterns. There we go. It starts to click in, and we've got Mercury there. Um, so we have this communication, we have this intensity, over the south node, and we have this is like always a loss, a getting rid of a spiritual, some kind of a growth or a change happening. So this is what we're starting into, and now I just want to go by the days just so we can kind of see where we're at. So coming into last Wednesday, tragic day for humanity, for the United States, for Charlie Kirk, for his family, just a horrible thing. Well, now in this century, we have, our first political assassination here. So this is the current events and the lineup of how things, you're looking at things astrologically. So this things are moving, and we come to yesterday, over the weekend, and now we're coming into some more really intense aspects. So, yesterday a lot of things were heating up. We have Saturn again at this apex of a interesting configuration. Here we have, it's moving into that opposition as the sun and Mercury. First it's going to oppose Mercury, having that opposition to Saturn. So this is just yucky, right? This is, Sun and Mercury have to cross this part here, this, and a few degrees ahead. It's already in range, and then, we're going to go to today, but I just want you to see how this is connecting. But then we also have, this um, Venus and Mars connection at the base of this, but then both of those are in this weird quincunx back over to Saturn. So it's this really odd kind of energy. So we're kind of into like this masculine, feminine, this male and female, this left and right has to join together, and it's being forced to also. It's being, Saturn is being the reckoning. This is like an kind of a this is almost like the target is worse than the cahoots. It's like, Saturn is going to stand up for something right here. Instead of it being pierced, it's going to like hold this together and hold it all accountable. We have important and very interesting dynamics here. We have the Sun and Mercury almost, conjunct here. It's just Mercury just passed it. If we go in a day, almost 2 days. It's like right there. We had the sun, or Mercury going over the sun last week, and it's still there. It's still intense. And then just look how intense this energy is. So we're coming into it today, and that's, getting closer. So as those two, first Mercury will be closer. So we have a lot of information. We have a lot of sadness. We have a lot of responsibility. We have a lot of wake up call. and then the sun is illuminating the whole thing. And then we have Mars, aggression, is still uncomfortable here with Saturn and Venus. Um, what we like, but this is dramatic here, this is a big deal over making this connection to Saturn. So this is a very interesting um, configuration. But then we also have the today the moon going, we call it, it's busy week, it's a real busy week. So this is where we're coming into I had to back up just to get, we all focus here on this. When I was looking at all the aspects, for today, I'm like, wow, this is probably one of the most, I would say, important, like week and a half, like weeks, last week to all the way through next week, that we're going to have. And this is really important. um, in so many things. I think as a humanity, as a community, as a person, I think it's important to, just be as an integrous, as integrous as you can, being, self-aware and, being it like, how can I help rather than what's in it for me? Because we have some intense times going on here, but beautiful things at the same time. It's just, challenging, and we all have to kind of do our part, toe the line. But we have a really nice moon going over Jupiter, but it's also expanding feelings. It's expanding being hurt, being wounded, care. It's questioning uh, caring and expansion and home and security. All those issues are really big right now in the collective. The moon is going, it's been in Cancer day and a half, it's almost out. So this just emotional overwhelm, this just big emotional flood, this emotional tide, this emotional tsunami is ensuing because we have the moon in its own sign going over Jupiter. So it's just making this upwelling of emotions and feeling all over. You can just tell, you can feel it's palpable. So this is very interesting. Now, I don't have what I wanted to point out. We have Chiron, an asteroid, and I don't get into a whole lot of it just because there's so many things to talk about. And then I didn't even add it in here, but let me just do this real quick. Just get Hopefully I can draw this. Okay, so it's like right over here. So we have, it's like 26 degrees. I'm just gonna put here. So we got a little idea. So 26 degrees, and it's a weird thing that looks like an okay kind of. All right, so that's Chiron, and it's like 26 degrees. Oh, that looks horrible. Where's the six? 26. Okay, Aries. It's not quite into here yet, but what I want to share before too much, get the eraser before I go. Okay, is we have some interesting things today. We have Mercury, right? There's 26. So Virgo over to Aries is a quincunx. All right, right. We have that quincunx. And then we also have Mars. Well, actually, there's a few things here. But Mars would be in opposition, right? That's Libra and then Aries. So that over to Chiron. And then we have the moon will be squaring it today. You can see like the moon here, there's a cardinal sign, right? Squaring over to Chiron. And then Venus is trining that. Venus is the, in fire sign and fire sign. But emphasis on Chiron. Chiron is the wounded healer, the where we're wounds, where we're carrying wounds and where we're wounded. So we have a lot of energy, this inner planet. These are, I think, this consciousness, I think this is the, one of the things is this Charlie Kirk incident has awakened a lot of people, and it's a call that is ringing around the world. And here we have, like I said, just there's four inner planets, Moon, Venus, Mars, Mercury, all making aspects to Chiron in, an inconjunct, a trine, a opposition, and a square. So there's a mixed bag there, but it's kind of intense. One nice thing with Venus, it is bringing humanity on hopefully together, seeing not only that, but just how certain people are celebrating somebody's death. And I think that just appalled a lot of other people. This is a big deal. So the fact that Chiron is being hit by all these inner planets are more palpable. They're more people experience them more. They're brighter. The outer planets, I think, are more of a how do I say it? Sometimes the influences aren't as poignant, aren't as sharp, and we don't quite know. It's it's kind of more outer. It's like more societal um, sort of group rather than being so personal. But being that all of these are personal, these are all making those really harsh aspects, except for Venus, but making aspects and conversation over to Chiron there. So I just wanted to mention that because that's going on. Today also a lot of moon aspects. The moon, it just was conjuncting or going over Jupiter. It also made a sextile with the sun. You can see here it's like almost the same degrees. What time is it set? This was like almost noon, this East Coast time. So his moon was traveling today. He's making conversation with the sun, with Jupiter, over to Mercury as well because Mercury and the sun are together, so it's the same. And it's squaring over to Mars right here because they're cardinal signs, right? So it's like there's some aggression and anger, stirring up. Um, and then trining over to Saturn. It's like the moon here, it's like getting righteous. It's like feeling angry for a purpose, feeling like calling evildoers and wrong people out. I think a lot of people that are celebrating inappropriately are being called out appropriately. I think a lot of those people that were being really flagrant online are being caught and being held accountable or will be for their actions because that's very flagrant. So this is this kind of energy, all of this stuff going on. And then here again, Mars is opposing Moon and Jupiter. So we have that I mean squaring that those two. So it's a lot of that feeling is provoking anger. And then it's like um, you want to go to bat for somebody. You want to help. You want to, because Mars is still in Libra. It's still that that feeling of, you have to have some compassion. It's not just going rushing off to war. It's like having to say the right thing. It's having to um, arm for the occasion. More politely. It's more dealing with that anger in a societal way rather than just pure aggression. So this is very interesting, and what I want you to look at, and I'm going to go back, but I'm going to go hours. And I want you to watch some of these configurations because we have a couple interesting ones coming up. We have a kind of a grand, almost like, well, we have a grand trine will form, and then we'll have a grand five-sided star. They're not going to be equal legs, but they'll be there and you'll see it come in. And it's just very interesting. Just kind of watch all these lines here in the middle. All right. So we're going to see some of these intensities. Look at this here. So now we've picked up more from Saturn, and then it'll be Saturn and Neptune that will get the brunt of all this, right? So all of these are just watch these lines. And then you see Pluto's making some here too, right? Okay, so just kind of watch this figure. And look at here on later today, look at we've got this kind of mystic rectangle in here forming. All right. Just keep watching it. All right, there's our grand trine picking up on. Coming into tomorrow, we have all these planets at 1 degree, and you see the Sun and Mercury getting at the end of this um, end of Virgo. So Mercury is going to go first. That's why it's creating this trine here. It's coming into orb, but you see this 1 degree here, and then the Sun will come into it as well. But just keep watching here. We're almost, well, we can start to see that pattern. See, so here's a star, that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it'll get a little better. Let me just let you see that a second. All right, look, we've got a couple of trines in here, or triangles. This is very interesting now. See, this is like, okay, Wednesday late, it kind of stuff. We flatten it out, but there we go. Start to form. Thursday comes in even more so. Let me see if I can get it lined up. I saw it earlier. in the afternoon. All right, let's go back here. It kind of was really nice. Perfect. There we go. So it's like all of these inconjuncts, except, except for this one. This one is trine. So this angle would be 150, and then this one would be 120. So it's like a very interesting. We have, yeah, two, three, four, five. You see that? I think you just make sure I'm gonna draw this real quick. All right, so we have, let's do a line. I just get like red. Okay, now we get yellow. All right, so we can start here. Oh, let me get rid of that. I want a darker one. Show you a couple things here. I want a wider line. There we go. Okay. Okay, so here, and then here, and then here, and then here, and then here. Isn't that interesting? It's almost perfect. This angle here, from the outer planets here making this trine, the trine is still there, right? You can see, let me get another color. We see a trine as well. Okay, so we have the trine still there. Here's the trine here to here to here. Okay, so I know it gets kind of crazy looking at all this, and I don't always have these, but I think there's some interesting patterns here. So we have some nice conversation with suddenness with Uranus in the very early degrees of Gemini, and then over to Pluto in Aquarius, right? So this is our trine leg of this. And then there's all this other energy that's just having to adjust. But before I go into that a little bit more, this trine energy is, making um, perfection over to Mercury, right? It's going to go, Mercury as it goes closer to 1 degree, it'll be a perfect trine. It'll be 1 degree, 1 degree, 1 degree, right? You see that? And then we'll also have the sun there. Whoops. We'll have, as soon as the sun in about 5 days or 4 days, right, it will move into that trine spot, that grand trine spot there as well, right? Okay. So, but what we have a hard time with is look at all this other energy. Look at all these other conversations. There's a lot going on. All right, so back to Pluto. Pluto's, not only making the conversation over to Uranus, that there's a better thing, but then it's also, we already talked about the trine, but it's also kind of not making a real good conversation with Venus. Venus is just can't see maybe the reason for the wounding. Venus does, you know, uh, it's like it's not for the good of humanity. Somebody's death or a big rile up is not for the good of humanity. And then Venus is, over is like is confused. It doesn't know all the facts because it's making an inconjunct over to um, Neptune and Saturn. So it has that confusion and that feeling of responsibility and feeling of it's not right. So that's there. And then those two are making an inharmonious, the queen comes over to Mars, so it wants some kind of action and nothing's coming. It's vague and it's like we're not, we're spinning on our wheels or we're bearing the evidence or whatever. And then Mars over to Uranus. So it's like maybe some sudden things that aren't working. So this is very intense energy. Okay. And let me get rid of some of this so we can clear up some of the stuff. So, okay, so we have that energy going on. We also have Venus not making a good, squaring off with Uranus. It's like it's just um, these sudden things are not happy, are not harmonious. And the Sun and Mercury again opposing over to Neptune and Saturn. So it was, trying to bring light and communication over to a fuzzy subject, right? The Sun and Mercury, but this is going to be interesting because Mercury is going to be moving. It just, clicking out of its sign. Let me get rid of all this. It's clicked out of its sign. Clicking, I'm clicking. It's moved out of its sign. Okay, got it. Where it likes to be into others, into arbitrating for others, into looking at the other side, the other perspective, somebody else's point of view. This is really important. How this figure is coming up, and I think it's that perplexity is going to put some pressure on this confusion over on this side because it moves. All right, so let me just go back now. I just wanted you to see that how that figure moved. Actually, let me just let you look at it a little bit longer because it's about starting in on Thursday, and then it's just going to roll through. See, it's still there, and now we're picking up, some of these squares there, and it's rolling around. It's starting to flatten out a little bit as we get into the day. Oh, there it picks up again. Yeah, no, we still haven't gotten rid of it. It's still there. Look at it. It's still, just couldn't see it. It's still there. It's going to be with us for like a good day and a half there. Um, well, it's still in place. I just have the orbs set, kind of tight, but it's, we still have this energy here. Just let you look at that a second, how it rolls around. See, look how dark. We got all these aspects still in play. This is now Saturday, and there's all this conversation, all this noise, all of these players, talking and all this conversations, which I'm going to go through a little bit, but just see how it's like Sunday, and then we're going to come into our new moon, or, we did, actually, I went past it. You're right there. This is interesting new moon, but we'll get there. Okay. So busy of a week, but this is one of these really, really important weeks. I think it's important to unpack this. So here we already talked about today. Now we have this weird phenomena coming up whenever something moves into a new sign. It is going to, like, let's see, do I have it here? Okay, so the moon is moving, and then let me clear all this out here in the middle. Uh, Actually, hold on. So we have too many things to look at. Get them off of there now. Okay. It gets crazy looking at that, but I wanted you to see just how those patterns form sometimes that are very interesting. So what I wanted you to notice, um, whenever we get back here, whenever we have a planet moving into the beginning of a sign, all right, we'll just leave it right here. See, we got the moon here. It is going to make aspects with all of these outer planets, right? We've got Uranus at 1 degree, Pluto at 1 degree, and Neptune at 0 degrees. 0, 1, 1, right? So Moon is going to do that here on Wednesday, tomorrow. Moon moves into Leo. So the moon will trine Neptune, it will sextile Uranus, and it will oppose Pluto. So basically, anything that's going to move at that degree is going to make aspects to all the outer planets. Okay, so are those three outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Isn't that interesting, right? I mean, it's gonna everything at the new degree is like if we come around each new moon, each time the sun changes sign. When Mercury gets in everything a new sign, for a while they're gonna be kind of at those degrees. Um, Neptune will go back a little bit, and Uranus will go back in the previous sign. So we'll have things as they near the end of a sign, then hitting those planets, and then it will all go forward again. So those areas are going to ring. I just want to impress that in your head. These are going to ring, and they have been ringing, and they're going to ring more. But right now, you can see these degrees. Right, let me just point that out. Um, well, you can see it. Okay, I gotta move on because there's a lot. You can see 1, 0, and 1, right? And then here, moon moves there. So we just know that now the moon on Wednesday, tomorrow, we're gonna have some conversations here, right? We got confusion, we got feelings, we got suddenness, we got depth, right? We think Neptune, confusion, or fantasy, or, mystery. We have Uranus, sudden things, brilliance, genius, ideas out of nowhere, something from the blue, that kind of Uranian electrical energy, and then Pluto, death, rebirth, transformation, oil, um, hidden things, all of that kind of energy. All right, so that all flies, and then Mercury, we can see that is going to oppose Saturn. So we've got some communications about right here, exactly 28 degrees. Communications of it's like at the nth degree of where it loves to be. It's got its ducks in a row. Mercury is now energized with the energy of the sun. There's like a certain righteousness here. Mercury, the information, people want facts. People want to get to the bottom of things. People want to know. People want to be informed. People want to make lists. People want to get things done. People are, it's like I think the good part of being opposed Saturn is like it's using that. It's like, okay, all of this unstructured stuff has to go. I need order. We need structure. We need lists. We need, it's like I need a detailed list on all kinds of things. I think from, personal levels to the global level, what's going on is like we need to put structure in. And I think right here, it's like this is a key day, key point. Putting structure into all of our events and into this confusion, basically, putting order into confusion. This is big. And then we move into Thursday again, which is going to be a big day. Thursday's big day. Mercury um, is moving, is changing signs. Get back here. Well, let me get it a few more degrees forward here. This is like it's like right there, 29. It's like there it is. So at like 6:30 in the morning, East Coast time, you can adjust it for the rest of the world. But early in the morning, 6:30 is like time you're starting your day. The sun hasn't even risen yet, right? Look at sun in the East Coast here. It's still under the horizon. It doesn't rise till about 7, but here Mercury is now changed signs. We should have a different feeling on Thursday, but it's going to be really busy. I think that whole energy of Mercury opposing Saturn on the day before, getting, you know, ultimatums. If you do this, this is the consequences. I expect this. I want this list. This has got to get done. All this kind of stuff, and then it clicks into the next sign. So it's like hopefully the lists and everything will get out before there's any vacillation, before there's any Libra. Well, I'm second guessing myself now. Maybe I was too harsh. I don't know if I did this right. List. So get it all out there before that shit happens. That's what I got to say. Because it starts to be, question itself. It's not the strongest place for Mercury. So hopefully it's gone in flying and then can be just a good advocate, can be a good diplomat, can be a good go-between energy. So trust that stuff. Get it in your ducks in a row on all that while Mercury's finishing up in its exalted, lovely place to be. Okay, so that's happening. And then Venus is like kind of here the governor with this. It's like it's not in a good place with Saturn. It can't wait to get out of here, but then it's not the best. It doesn't love to be over here either. So it's like just not comfortable. It's just not happy. It's not satisfied. It's just what's that old Prince song? When Doves Cry. My mom's she's never satisfied. It's kind of that feeling. It's just like, man, can't do anything right. You can't. I just can't place it. Just not do anything right. Got an energy. So hang in there. That will change. But it's also forcing us to maybe tone down the drama and then find some kind of common ground. It's like find something that will work. All right, so sun and moon now also that day on Thursday. Yeah, they're a little further apart, but yeah, they will, when the moon gets a little bit closer there, they'll both make a quincunx over to Chiron. So there's another stirring up of that wounded healer with the sun and moon. We've got the moon making a better aspect with Chiron it when it, being in Leo. Remember, Chiron was in Aries, so maybe there'll be another wave of compassion, another wave of feeling. But yet the sun is in conjunct, so there's maybe an ego. Your ego maybe won't understand how your mood is feeling. It's like the the emotions will always win. So there may be a little bit of an emotion versus an ego thing going on Thursday. So watch for that. We already talked about Mercury opposing Neptune. And then Mercury will here's this trine thing. We already talked about that, but it's like Mercury will oppose Neptune, so it's going to maybe hopefully not get confused, but there's always that thing, but hopefully it'll clear up confusion. Um, and it will trine Uranus. So maybe there's something out of the blue that can end some confusion, or it may just further muck up and complicate matters. And then Mercury will also trine Pluto. So that what kind of gives me hope about getting to the bottom of it because it's trining Pluto, the move on, the death, rebirth, the transition kind of energy. So there's those three outer planets, right? So Mercury's just changing signs, so it's got to go have conversation with those planets. So it's opposing Neptune, but then it's trining Uranus and trining Pluto. So there may be a little hope with confusion and getting your point across or getting an idea understood while it's now just in that new sign of maybe you're going to be understood. Maybe you're going to have a little bit of compassion and be able to understood the other person can understand your point of view. All right, moving into Friday. We're getting close to this new moon too, at the end of Virgo, which is very interesting. All right, so Friday, we still have Mercury, with that trines over to Uranus and Pluto, right? All right, so we're kind of moving into Friday with that energy, still that communication stuff. So it's seeping into Friday, and then we have the moon making a lot of aspects. The moon is going to conjunct um, Venus, which will be nice. Let's see, what is this? Again, 6:30 in the morning, here, 7 early in the morning, and even earlier East Coast, so but anyway, it's just a real nice kind of a benefic, fiery kind of energy. Maybe you'll get up with some drive and energy and just feeling good, and maybe in a good mood that day. Even though it's not happy with over at Saturn, but maybe the moon will kind of smooth stuff over. It's like, oh, I know you're not feeling good. Here's a piece of chocolate cake for you. You're like, oh, kind of an energy. Okay, so a lot of moon aspects through the day. Um, But oh yeah, I know what I was gonna say. As okay, so as Venus, what I have my notes here. Yeah, so Venus and the moon change signs together. Yeah, that's what I want to underline here for you. Check this out. This is cool. So they're both in Leo together, right? So maybe you've got that energy of being funneling your wants and desires, maybe feeling excited finally about something, and then maybe making it manifest. Because here, see, the moon is going to go over. Look, it goes right over right before it changes. Look, it goes 59 minutes. See, let me go back. Look, it goes Moon goes right over Venus. See, it's 20, I have it here 29 at 27, and then I go an hour ahead and look it goes to 29:59. Oh, I got that on there. Perfect. Yay. All right, so it goes right over Venus first, the moon, and then the moon ushers Venus in, then it changes. Then moon goes into Virgo first, checks it out, and then Venus comes in. How sweet. So organized feelings. Okay, so you got that drama, you got it's like, oh yes, I got that excitement. I know what I want. Now let's put it into some practical action, practical feelings. It's like you get your mood now in a practical way to help facilitate what Venus wants and needs. This is, I think, very lovely. Very lovely. All right. So that is Friday. Those are the big ones on Friday. Friday, so Moon and Venus change signs. So again, there's lots of stuff going on. This is huge. These are bang, bang, one day after another. Planets changing signs, planets in cahoots and making really funky angles and trines and grand stars in the sky and then kites. There's some configuration. We've got a kite configuration in Yods, and it's like so much. It's going to be so much this week. So this is a big Friday, busy Friday. Lots of energy, lots of intense stuff going on. All right, now let's move on to Saturday because we're coming up into the new moon. Look how close the moon is getting now, right? Moon is going to be going through Virgo all day Saturday and getting close. Okay, Moon now is going to get close to the South Node. There could be, how do I say this? Feelings of retribution, righteousness, you're or feeling organized also to get rid of things, feeling organized to put things in order, organized to work on your karma, putting your mood and your moon, your moon mood to get a clipboard out and make lists of things, or go through in your mind things you need to clear up, or do a lot of shadow work too, purposeful shadow work, purposeful meditations, purposeful releasing, getting rid of, deep held feelings and things you just don't need. They're blocking you from moving forward. All right, what coming into Saturday? Mars in a not good conversation with Saturn. It's got that quincunx. Mars is, the end. Mars here is getting frustrated. It really is like our energy is still a little pent up. We're still having to be polite. We're still having to think, I have to be polite. I can't really say totally what I want. I've got to play by the rules. I got to toe the line. This is not feeling good. I want to be responsible, but I got to just bite my tongue because I know I'm going to piss off somebody that I don't need to piss off if I don't. So that's kind of that Mars, or under the surface, or under the uh, kind of suppressed energy. So they're really good to do some shadow work. This is like moving through some stuff you just don't like, maybe, or putting up with, or tolerating. Okay. Ugh. It will change. Things will change. As soon as like another day, Mars is gonna be in Scorpio, and it's gonna be, yes, vengeance is mine. I'm just kidding, but it kind of sort of anyway. Oh, okay. So Mars is not happy being responsible. Put it that way. It's like, look, I've taken your shit long enough. All right, stop already. Okay, but that will change. Um, the moon is in a nice place with as it moves on, as it goes after it passes the south node, it's going to be in a nice quin 60-degree sextile, good feelings with Jupiter. So it'll be like, okay, now you've done this, you can go reward yourself. You can feel good. You can expand. That'll be really nice. Um, And then the sun, there we go. Okay, so then the sun's walking into that spot. So sun now will oppose, so you see it's starting to oppose Saturn. So Mercury did, now the sun will. And then, Venus is, we said already, with that quincunx, it's already moved out of there. Um, okay, so yeah, so now we got the sun in that odd thing with that opposition, that push pull, that ego, wanting to put stuff in order. I want to be helpful. I want to do this, but you're fuzzing out on me. You're not paying attention. You're not listening. You're not on board with me. Kind of an energy going on with Saturn in Pisces. It wants to, the structure. It's like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to exercise. I don't want to not do that. I don't want you to do this. Want. And then the sun is like, no, we've got to do this. We've got to get this in order. And now the moon's coming up. It's like, look, we got to make these plans. You're effing around and you need to get off your butt. And this is starting to heat up because we still got Mars right here. See, you can hear my voice. Isn't it? So we got this, intense energy, this, the sun and moon not in a happy way with Mars. And then, they're not in a happy way with Saturn. So this is tense. This is an intense moon here. Um, yeah, so it's a bit of like, try not to be too hypercritical, try to be a little bit more compassionate because it's edgy. Mars here, just like, it's like, I just want to bust out. But let's just go by hours here. And let's see Mars, if it moves into the next sign before the full moon. I don't think so, but let's look. Look at 27, 28, 29 degrees, like, see, moon, sun, and Mars, 27, 28, 29 at, this is at 1:30 in the afternoon. it's gonna be like, look at 29 degrees. Look at them all at 29 degrees at 4:30. I think Sunday is gonna be an intense day. I'd say lay low. I mean, 29 degrees are critical degrees. Those are very intense. And then we've got the sun moon, as the new moon here. Um, in a semi-sextile, it's like a quincunx. It's like they have nothing in common, here with Mars. Mars is edgy. It's been having to be diplomatic and, wear a suit. It hates it. It wants to get out of that and it just can't wait. So I think this is the aggression is being pent up here. Saturn is solid here at 28. Then we have this, the full moon or the new moon here at 29 with a funky aspect over to Mars. It's just again doesn't want to be there. So let's see when it will bust out. All right, so moon already went over, sun. Let's see what time it was at. East Coast time, 3:54 p.m. And then the moon moves into Libra at 5:41, like almost 6 o'clock. So that will make a big change. But let's see what happens first. Let's see if Mars goes or moon. I think the moon will. Yeah, moon's into Libra. Mars is still hanging out, right? So the moon was gonna do the change, the big change. It's gonna change into Libra, and then it gets a much more um, balanced vibe or second guessing vibe, or it just changes it. I think that's going to change it. So now we have this little quick conjunction or this little stellium in Libra before we change. Before, well, it just after. I'm sorry, just after we went through the moon. So we've got this little bit hanging on before Mars changes. But let's look and see when that exactly is. Almost there. Look at 58, 9, and Monday, about 4 a.m. in the morning. Now Mars moves out. It's like, it's in its next place that it likes to be. If it can't be in Aries, then its next favorite place is in Scorpio. So this is be interesting, and because Scorpio is the ruler of Pluto, right? So we have now Mars in Pluto in a square, because we got a fixed sign and a fixed sign. So Mars moves right out and just kind of starts to bully or get like, hey, it's been like, oh, it's taking its suit off and it's taking the shoes off and it's throwing them around and it's cussing and it can't, it's like this kind of pent up energy is, just kind of watch, this energy is pent up. The stock market's probably going to go crazy. You probably see some really interesting gold and silver movements here with Mars going into Scorpio. Could be a volatile time. It could be very changing rapidly. All right. Anything else I wanted to say? Oh yeah, of course. And then we're right almost on, late Monday as the sun moves into Libra. Let me just do the hours here. Let's see when it be if it's Monday. There we go. Yep, there it is. All right, so look at that, cute, cool, 2:22 in the afternoon, September 22nd, 2025 at 2:22 in the afternoon, the sun at 00. Look at that. Oh, isn't that cool? Wow. I mean, numbers are just interesting, right? September 22 at 2:22, the sun is at 00. Wow. Well, that's our equinox, our equal time. We're moving into the fall season in the north and into spring in the southern hemisphere. So now we have a good solid stellium in Libra. Mars moved out. It's like, oh God, you guys take it over, man. I'm out of here. Um, so yeah, this has come definitely by the time we meet next week, we'll have gone through a lot. There'll be another big, big week. So again, I think for all of us, this is really, really important to, try to watch everything. It's like try to slow down your life and how things are and catch your mind and be in the most positive um, spot you can. Look at your own shadow, what's not doing what you don't like, and do like positive ways to work with that. Try to, make friends with things that are not congruent. We're going through some intense, inconjuncts, both the the quincunx and the semi-sextile. Really intense aspects this week, working with our shadow self, getting rid and purging things we don't need so we can then start filling up with more of the cosmic light. Things are changing and for the good. And we've got a definitely interesting ride for this next year and a half, but this is an important week. And yeah, just stay centered. All right. Also, new moon intentions, setting in new intentions. This is like kind of what this is all about, getting organized with things, using the energies, not abusing them. All right. Much love to everybody, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.